Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our history unit for the month of December 2023. And today we're talking about the mirror, the history of the mirror. And it's the mirror's reflection of human progress. That's an interesting title because, of course, if we look in a mirror, we can see our reflection, which means something coming back at us, or we interpret something. So you might want to reflect on your life. Gee, have I done the right thing? Did I marry the right person? Did I have enough children? Did I have the right job? Maybe you're reflecting on your life. But here we're reflecting on human progress by listening to the testimony of a mirror. So this article is written in the first person from the point of view of a mirror.
Yeah, there's a very popular streaming program on Netflix called Black Mirror, and it's very dystopian. It's kind of science fiction, not so much science fiction anymore, but it's kind of that similar idea that the mirror is reflecting society and what's happening to humanity as a whole. Most of you out there have probably read Snow White, or at least seen the movie or something. There's that famous line that the evil queen says to the mirror, and she says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" She wants to be the most beautiful. And then she finds out that Snow White's now the most beautiful.
Oh, no.
So she goes after her. Let's see what this mirror has to say. It's written in the first person form, which means it's speaking as if it's writing itself. It's kind of weird, first of all, because it's a mirror. But this mirror is the eye that you see in this particular piece of writing. Let's get started. We're going to listen first, and then we'll be back.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who has witnessed it all? Come along with me, the timeless mirror, as we reflect upon the evolution of the looking glass. In an era before my kind was recognized, humans glimpsed their vague reflections in calm water or lake surfaces. My earliest known man-made ancestors discovered in Turkey have been traced back at least 8,000 years. These mirrors were made from polished obsidian, a naturally occurring volcanic glass. As civilizations advanced, so did the craft of mirror making. Some of my earliest relatives were made from copper, bronze, or silver, carefully polished to maximize their reflective capabilities. The Romans invented the first glass mirror in the 1st century, but only the very wealthy could afford such a luxury. However, due to superstitions about devils watching through us, glass mirrors disappeared in the Middle Ages. Polished metal mirrors or specialized water bowls were used until glass mirrors regained popularity in the 13th century. In the 16th century, the people of Venice, Italy, greatly changed mirror making by backing glass with a layer of tin and mercury, offering the clarity you now observe in me. Astonishingly, the cost of a Venetian mirror was equivalent to that of a large ship. The narrative took a turn in 1835 with the idea of a German scientist, Justus von Liebig, to coat glass with metallic silver. This enabled the mass production of mirrors, making us affordable for common people and marking the dawn of the modern mirror. Thus, I serve a purpose far beyond reflection. A testament to the human journey, I stand as a symbol of mankind's ceaseless quest for beauty. Okay, so we're going to talk about the mirror's reflection of human progress. And again, this is written in the first person from the perspective of a mirror, which is kind of interesting because, as you know, when you look in a mirror, it reverses your perspective, okay? What is right is actually left. So I would imagine that if a mirror were talking, they would be talking backwards, like this. Maybe the mirror did, and if the mirror did, we have kind of turned it around for you so you can understand.
So we're going to look at the history of the mirror. It kind of traces back along with the history of humans. So the mirror's reflection of human progress. I think Tom kind of explained this pretty well in the intro. The reflection of something shows you back what you see. If you are ever close to a body of water and it's very still and peaceful, you can look into that water and it will reflect something back. It usually reflects you back. But you can also reflect on things in your life, as Tom said. To really think deeply about things is to reflect upon something. This is the reflection, what it's showing back, having to do with human progress. So this is similar to that Snow White line, mirror, mirror, on the wall, who has witnessed it all? Well, come along with me, the timeless mirror, as we reflect upon the evolution of the looking glass. Looking glass was an old-fashioned term for the mirror. The mirror's kind of recent, really. They haven't had it for that many centuries, so I'm grateful we have the mirror. But we're going to talk about the evolution. The slow change over time of something is the evolution of something.
I think the concept of a reflection has been around for thousands of years because people looked in a lake and they saw the clouds above and below the lake there, so they thought, that must be a reflection there. And eventually they looked at themselves and saw their own reflection and maybe fell in love with themselves, who knows. But in an era before my kind was recognized, humans glimpsed their vague reflections in calm water or lake surfaces, which is basically what I just said. The mirror was not recognized until later. It was not really invented until later. So people took a look at their vague reflections in calm water or lake surfaces or the surface of a river or a pond or whatever. Vague just means not exactly specific. It's uncertain. It's indefinite. You're not quite sure what they're trying to say. Sometimes if you're asking someone a question, their answer might be too vague. Can you be more specific? You're being too vague. That really isn't helping at all.
Yeah, sometimes people are vague on purpose. They don't want to directly respond or answer a question. And so they'll be kind of unclear in their response. So you can say, can you be less vague? Can you be a little more clear in your response? So they were vague reflections. They were kind of hard to see everything clearly. There weren't a lot of details in these reflections. And again, you had to use either calm water or lake surfaces. It says here, referring to this mirror who supposedly wrote our article, my earliest known man-made ancestors. These were mirrors that were made by people long ago, was discovered in Turkey. Your ancestors are your relatives. So my ancestors, I could say, are from Ireland and England, and then one side is Germany. So I have ancestors from different countries in Europe. Your ancestors are where did they come from? And then you would say, my great-grandfather, my great-grandma, they're from this place or that place. So this is a man-made ancestor. Is just an earlier form of a mirror. Was discovered in Turkey, and it had been traced back, or it has been traced back, to at least 8,000 years ago when it was first made. So that's a pretty prehistoric version of a mirror.
Yep, we've got ancestors that have been traced back at least 8,000 years. That means they are 8,000 years old. And these mirrors were made from polished obsidian, which is a naturally occurring volcanic glass. Okay, so yes, indeed, sometimes volcanoes erupt. And then you get different substances that come out of them, and obsidian is like a volcanic glass. Maybe you've seen it before, and in this particular case, those mirrors were made from polished obsidian, which means they were treated, they were rubbed smooth so that they would reflect light. And again, obsidian is a naturally occurring volcanic glass. It's natural because it comes from volcanoes. Volcanic is an adjective here. It means having to do with volcanoes.
Yeah, so if you were to see this obsidian, it's very dark, but it's transparent. And it comes usually in very thin pieces, but they would polish it until it's really smooth, and they could see their reflections in it. So interesting. So these mirrors were made from that polished obsidian, a naturally occurring volcanic glass. It can also be described as a glass-like rock from a volcano. As civilizations advanced in different parts of the world, So did the craft of mirror making. Yeah, it was a craft that people learned to do. So the mirror here says, some of my earliest relatives, again, ancestors, are your relatives that came before you, but your relatives could be after you or living currently in today's time. So the earliest relatives of this mirror were made from copper, bronze, or silver, and these are all types of metals. Copper, for me, is that kind of orange tint to a metal that you see. We used to have copper pennies. I've heard they've taken a lot of the real copper out of our pennies in America. It's too valuable. So copper is kind of a reddish-brown metal. Bronze you've seen because you've probably watched the Olympics before, and they give those different metals: gold, silver, bronze. Bronze is the third one, and it also, to me, has that kind of brown gold color to it. And then there's silver, and you know silver, we use it a lot for coins and also for jewelry.
Exactly. And of course, they did use these metals to make the mirrors, and they were carefully polished to maximize their reflective capabilities. So again, here we've got the word polish again, which means you rub something until it's nice and smooth. If you wear nice shoes, for example, you might have your shoes polished before an important business meeting. But in this particular case, we're talking about these metals, copper, bronze, or silver, being carefully polished to maximize their reflective capabilities to make them as reflective as possible.
Well, the Romans were the first to invent a mirror using glass, and this happened in the 1st century. So only the very wealthy, though, could afford such a luxury. Yeah, I'm sure the poor folks didn't have much time to be looking in a mirror at themselves. They were probably out in the fields trying to grow crops so that they could feed their families. But the Romans were the very first to invent this glass mirror. I'm surprised that we've had it around that long because even in American history, I would say the 1700s, 1800s, there weren't a lot of mirrors even then.
Right. So, of course, mirrors have become quite popular. And, of course, people do look at themselves in their mirrors. And sometimes they actually use their phones as a mirror.
Oh, yeah.
Which has caused another problem, which I'll get to later on. People post pictures on the internet that are reversed because your phone is being used as a mirror and it saves the images as a mirror image unless you make some kind of change in the menu. But, again, that's another topic. But, again, the point here is that in Roman times or earlier times, mirrors could only be afforded by very wealthy people, and ordinary people would just have to imagine what they looks like in a mirror. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天来看一个很有趣的文章，有关于镜子哦。这个镜子你知道它什么时候发明的吗？你知道镜子对于人类的这个眼镜文明有没有什么贡献呢？好，这篇除了是在谈镜子之外，就是我们平常真的都会用好熟悉的东西。另外呢，它的人称也就是撰写的角度很特别，是第一人称哦。等一下我们会一直看到我们这个族群就指的是镜子。好，所以文章一开始当然就是先用我们最熟悉魔镜的这个句子。可是后面问的问句是 Who has witnessed it all？ 这里的 witness 是亲眼见到，所以当名词的时候有目击证人的意思哦。好，那么接着呢，我们在第一段第2句，当然很有趣你跟着我来看看镜子的演变。可是逗点之后有一个 as， 我们先检查一下 as 后面有 we reflect upon something， 也就是说 as 之后我看到人动词，那这里的 as 就是个连接词。再复习一下 as 当连接词的时候有 when、because 如同好像的意思。根据上下文来推断，在这里的 as， 当我们回想，当我们一起回顾整个 looking glass 的 evolution 的演变，好，所以在这里应该有 when 的意思存在。不过这句最后面的 looking glass 其实就是 mirror， 就是镜子啦。好，第二段当然就谈到历史啦，到底我这种东西 my kind 也就是镜子 镜子还没被发明之前，到底大家怎么样来照镜子啊？对哦，还只会讲照镜子这3个字。原来当时啊，大家是在平静的水面或者是湖面会看到自己的倒影，当然这个倒影就比较模糊不清啦，所以在第2段的第1句看到出体字这个 vague 模糊的意思，那这个倒影真的就是 reflection， 因为 reflect 这个字啊本来就有折射的意思，所以我们的光影，我们的影像经过湖面或者是镜面的折射，我们看到里面的就是 reflection。 那其实也很有趣，因为刚才第1段第2句啊的 reflect upon 或者是 reflect on something 就有回想回顾有反思的意思，所以一开始的时候我们就是有看到模糊的 reflection， 就发现哦，原来可以看到自己耶。那后来就开始发明所谓的镜子，什么时候呢？同样在第2段第2句的地方，其实一开始在土耳其这个时候呢就发明了镜子，但是是回溯到差不多8000年前哦。我们在这里看到的My earliest known man-made ancestor 这组词有点长的原因是因为带了3个形容词，逗点之后啊出现了一个关系子句的简化，省略的是 which were， 因为先行词啊 ancestors 是复数啦，那当然过去式就当时是在土耳其发明的。后面我们看到句子真正的动词是 have been traced back， 因为 trace 这个动词的主词是人 trace something back to 再加上起始时间，人会追溯一件事情回到什么时候，所以其实8000年前就有镜子耶，但这些镜子其实是经过抛光的一种黑曜石，那它是一个天然的一种天然形成的火山玻璃啦，所以这个材质就出现在第2段第3句的地方。那这种volcanic glass 是天然形成，不过后来因为文明进步，制造镜子的工艺就也在进步。我们要特别注意这里的第4句哦，第4句有出现一个倒装句，倒装句的之前句首的地方 as， 在这里我们看到后面有一个动词叫 advanced， 我们可以判断它还是连接词，不过在这里的语义就是如同好像，如同文明一直在进展。逗点之后这里的 so 表示肯定的也，它是一个连接词，可是如果我们把逗点之后的 so 放在后面要连接的句子句首的时候，就会形成倒装。这里的倒装是看起来好像疑问句一样，我们看到有一个助动词 did 放在 the craft of mirror making， 不过在这里的 did 啊其实是代替逗点前面提到这个动作 advance 进展。如果我们今天不用倒装句的话，逗点之后应该是 and the craft of mirror making advanced to， 镜子工艺的进展也往前走了，所以在这里用 so did 来形成一个倒装句。好，那当然呢，最早还有一些其他的材质，像是铜啊、青铜啊、银啊，都可以经过抛光来变成镜子。那最后在罗马人呢，西元1世纪的时候就发明了第一面的玻璃镜，当然成本很高，是奢侈品哦。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. We're talking about the history of the mirror.And it kind of is a reflection of human progress at the same time. So we started out by telling you that there's been a real evolution of what we used to call the looking glass over centuries of time, even thousands of years, actually. We know that the earliest known man-made mirror was discovered in Turkey, and it's been traced back to at least 8,000 years. That's a long time ago. It was made from polished obsidian, which is a rock that you find in volcanoes, but if you polish it and it's thin enough, it's transparent. So that's what they were using long, long ago. But as civilizations advanced, so did their inventions as well. They came up with a way to make mirrors. It was called a craft. So they were specialized people who would make these. Some of my earliest relatives, says this mirror, were made from copper, bronze, or silver shiny metals that were polished, highly polished, would reflect the image looking into that. So they did this to maximize their reflective capabilities. They just keep polishing and polishing and polishing. Now, it's the Romans who invented the first glass mirror, what we're more used to seeing nowadays. And that was invented in the 1st century, but as many things were in history, when they first were invented, they were quite expensive. So only the very, very wealthy could afford to have such a luxury of having a mirror they could look into.
Okay, so moving on to the next paragraph here, it says, however, due to superstitions about devils watching through us, glass mirrors disappeared in the Middle Ages. So there were these superstitions, which are beliefs that people have that explain things in nature or in the world that aren't necessarily true. And, of course, the adjective form is superstitious. You might be superstitious about, say, going swimming during Ghost Month, for example. Some people believe that if you go swimming during Ghost Month, you could be in big trouble. That's kind of a superstition. And, again, if you believe that, then you are superstitious. Some people may think it's not a superstition. It's actually true. But every country has their own superstitions. Like in the West, it's considered bad luck to walk under a ladder or to step on a crack in the sidewalk or to have a black cat cross your path. Those are all superstitions.
Yeah, I was looking for jewelry online, and I noticed that the Italians have kind of a superstition about, again, devils watching you, and they will wear this particularly interesting shaped piece of metal to prevent that devil from coming near you. And people still wear them today. So, yeah, there are lots of superstitions. We have plenty of superstitions in Taiwan. A lot of times these superstitions are connected to supernatural beings like devils and ghosts and things like that. But, there are also baseball players, for example, who have their own superstitions. If they win a game, pitching with a particular pair of socks, they don't want to wash those socks. They'll just keep wearing them again and again.
They're lucky socks.
Oh, they're stinky socks. So these polished metal mirrors or specialized water bowls were used until glass mirrors regained popularity in the 13th century. That's the 1200s. So those poor folks in the Middle Ages, they had so many problems back then. I'm so grateful I wasn't born during the Middle Ages. They weren't able to use those glass mirrors because of these superstitions. And I think if they caught you, they would kill you because, it could be a bad sign for other people in your village. Polished metal mirrors regained popularity, and specialized water bowls. If something's specialized, it's made in a particular way. Maybe you have a specialized skill that is that's needed in the marketplace, and so you're able to get a good salary because you have some specialized skill. These were specialized water bowls, and that's what they used until the glass mirrors regained popularity. People stopped being afraid of them.
Right, so they had crude mirrors, but they did not have glass mirrors because they were considered dangerous. The devil might come out and possess you and take you to hell or whatever.
Yikes.
And in the 16th century, the people of Venice, Italy, greatly changed mirror making by backing glass with a layer of tin and mercury, offering the clarity you now observe in me. Okay, so this is what happened in the 16th century or the 1500s. We've got some Italians here. They're good at making coffee, but also they apparently are good at making mirrors, especially in Venice there. They changed mirror making because they came out with a new form of mirror. They would take a plane of glass or a piece of glass and then they would put a layer of tin or mercury on the back of that glass, and that would give you clarity, or the clarity you now observe in modern mirrors. Okay, so here clarity just means how clear something is. And yes, I guess before that, mirrors did offer a reflection, but it wasn't the greatest reflection. Nowadays, of course, if we look in a mirror, it's basically 100% like what we look like, except it's reversed.
I wanted to mention here, vague is the opposite or the antonym of clear. So vague is the opposite of clear. Clarity is the noun form of something being clear. So astonishingly, the cost of a Venetian mirror was equivalent to that of a large ship. So you can see how you'd have to have been rolling in dough, very wealthy to ever afford a mirror like that. Venetian is what we use to describe anything that comes from Venice. People, products, if they're Venetian, they're from Venice. So equivalent just means equal to something. It could be equal in value or amount or meaning, all of those things. So the narrative or the story that was being told took a turn or changed in 1835 with the idea of a German scientist, Justus von Liebig.
Sounds good.
Yeah, he's German. To coat glass with metallic silver. Metallic just means having the look of metal. So that's the next step in this progression.
Exactly, and this enabled the mass production of mirrors, making us affordable for common people and marking the dawn of the modern mirror. So yes, indeed, we've got Germans getting involved here. They were great inventors, of course, and they figured out a way to make these mirrors even better. They used metallic silver, and of course, they would coat the glass with that, and of course, that allowed mirrors to be made in large numbers. They're still kind of expensive, but still they're not as expensive as they used to be, and they're affordable for common people. And of course, that brings us up to modern times.
So the mirror ends off this particular lesson by saying, thus, I serve a purpose far beyond reflection. More important than that. A testament to the human journey. A testament to something just means that thing is serving as some sort of evidence or a sign of a specific fact. The crowds attending that concert last night were a testament to the talent of the performer. And to end this, it says, I stand as a symbol of mankind's ceaseless quest for beauty. A quest is a search for something, and usually it takes a long time. Ceaseless means you never stop. So people continue to try to be beautiful, especially long term. People are looking for that fountain of youth.
Indeed, and this makes me want to find a mirror right now to see if I've got any new zits on my face. I probably can't get them anymore at this age. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
不过后来啊，因为有一些迷信的关系，通常我们文章到第3段、第4段啊，通常会来个转折，可能会有一些重点，那这样文章也不会太过矮板。那现在是什么样的转折呢？原来因为有一些 superstitions 迷信是说恶魔透过镜子会观察人类，所以镜子在中世纪就消失了。后来就用抛光的金属的镜子啦，或者是专用的一些水碗才直接来用于所谓的照镜子这一件事情。在第3段第2句的地方，我们可以看一下 until。我们曾经说过 until 加上时间是强调时间之前发生了什么事。国中的时候说 not until 一定会放在一起，不一定哦。例如在这个句子当中，我们看到的 until 之前的句子就是肯定的。Polished metal mirrors or specialized water bowls were used.Until something happens， 所以强调时间点之前的状况不一定会有 not。 那接下来的看到在第16世纪的时候，就是由意大利威尼斯的商人在玻璃后面涂锡跟汞，就改变了镜子， 制造的方式。不过很令人惊讶的是，当时如果是你要买威尼斯的镜子啊，它的价格是非常高昂，相当于一艘大船的价格。第3段的第4句，我们特别注意，接近句尾的地方有一个代名词叫做 that 后面其实跟了一个 of a large ship， 这里的 of 加名词要把that 限定成为是船的什么，那这个什么啊，一定就是在句子当中往前看，没有错，它代替的就是 cost 价格，也就是成本的这一件事情。不过因为 that 本身已经被后面的 of 给限定了，所以它前面指的并不是镜子的价格，而是船的价格。那在这里就不能用 it 咯，因为如果是 it 指的就是镜子的价格，在这里的 that 指的是船的价格。也就是说，代名词 that 其实它指的就是同种类但是不一样事物的这个所谓的代名词。好，所以我们讲到这边发现这个镜子真的好几千年的历史。不过当然，镜子功能远远超过于反射咯，因为其实在整个人类的历程当中镜子就算是一个人类史的见证。以上是我们今天的内容，我是安娜，我们下次见。
That's all for today, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and please reflect on yourself and look at your reflection in the mirror. I'm sure you'll like what you see. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.